Well, hello everybody. This is Aaron Z. Lee doing a live Twitch art demo today for the Isugo Comic Shop. I have things for sale at the Isugo Comic Shop, like the collected edition of Pizza's Pizza, which I think is in back order, but if you're interested in that, let the shop know. We'll get those in stock soon. And I have issues 1 and 2 available of Leslie the Robot. This is my current series, which I will be doing a demo of some digital inking today in Clip Studio on this Surface Book 2. Also, I have a comic I picked up the last time I was at the comic shop. Marvel Comics presents Wolverine. This is from 1992. Some nice Sam Keith and Venom and Wolverine on the cover there. Thought that was pretty cool. The inside of that. It's pretty cool artwork. You might know Sam Keith from... It's a little loud. I put on some public domain music, the Kevin MacLeod or Incompetech public domain music. I just found a stream of his stuff. But this 1992 comic with some Sam Keith artwork. I just like the old Marvel Comics Presents when they got some really good talent on there. And we're doing eight pages a month for it, so they could really put some good work in there. Claws and Webs Part 2. I need to get Part 1. With those layouts and the action and the illustration of all this is pretty cool. I gotta read some more Sam Keith. I picked up some issues here and there of the Max from the reprints they did, but should be good. Oh, hey, Evan's in here. Did I have... This imagery is all good. This is a Marvel comic from 1992. I'm wondering what the Hey Now is all about. But then you got your Ghost Rider and Iron Fist on the other side. I think these comics came out like right before I started reading comics. I think 94 is when I really got into it. But I had some stuff before then. It's pretty cool. I only played that one song. It's raining pretty good today where I am. I don't know if it's raining where everybody else is. Oh, I want to put the other better cover out. There we go. We'll keep Sam Keith's Wolverine riding shotgun with us. So, I'm going to do some digital inking. James North says it's storming. Yeah, we got some pretty good rain right outside here. Maybe that'll be my soundtrack for today. So, what I'm going to be working on today is some digital inks. So what I've done is I most always... Yeah, Sam Keith is the man. I've been showing some Sam Keith love there. Most of the time I will draw things out traditionally in pencil, like on a sketchbook or a piece of Bristol board, like that. And then I'll take a picture of it or scan it. But taking a picture is pretty good these days. Take a picture, drop it into Clip Studio. That's the program I'm using here. And then I will set up an ink layer on top of my original pencil layer. And then I'll make sure I'm on the ink layer. Make sure I'm on my pen tool. There's a whole bunch of different brushes that are really, really good. There's this guy, Frenden, Frenden, who has a really good brush pack for Clip Studio. And I almost always use the Lando Calrissian nib, which coincidentally is the same nib that Sean Phillips uses a lot when he does his artwork. But I think it's called Lando Calrissian just because it's very smooth. And Clip Studio also provides some smoothing. I think I got my stabilization at 88. So it gives me a nice clean line to work with. And sometimes another thing I'll do is maybe I'll duplicate my pencil art layer. And then I'll decrease the opacity, which means I'll make it lighter so it's easier for me to differentiate between the ink line and the original pencil drawing. so that way I can see more clearly what I'm doing. And then you can see it's a pretty smooth process. You just start to tear right into it without worrying about spilling ink on yourself or making a mess. Although that's part of the fun too. A lot of times, if I work digitally, I will go back through and add in some traditional textures or scan some splotches or spills and put those into the nice digital drawing. I've been doing a lot of traditional stuff lately, so I thought I would mix it up and do some digital stuff today. Because I had a lot of new pages that I drew this past week. I think I did something like 30 new illustrations. And I just got in the zone and I inked all of them. So I didn't have any fresh pages or artwork to ink traditionally. And this is from issue number 6, I believe. Just getting a lot of the artwork of all the issues done ahead of time, so that way I can focus on making it better, making edits, adding other stuff to it. So I have that flexibility. Which is always a good thing. I'm just going to check my image resolution here. Just going to increase that resolution. I don't think that should make the lines I put down ineffective at all, but just to make sure. And sometimes it'll do this when it changes resolution, needs a lot of processing power, so it'll process for just a little bit. Over here I just have some doodles I was working on. I was watching, trying to watch some Doom Patrol, but our internet wasn't so great. So I have my little Negative Man down there in a Robot Man profile. I hope this comes back. Come on. Oh, it's thinking. Uh-oh. Let's wait for it to respond. That's another risk you take when you work digitally, is stuff might crash, but Clip Studio does have the Clip Studio is typically pretty stable. It's just because I increased the file size. Probably doesn't need to be that big. Oh, we'll just close and bring it back. Okay. So here, this is InDesign, which is where I put my comic books together. I'd like to use Affinity Publisher a bit more, but I haven't dug into that just yet because I would like to be less dependent on Adobe products. But inside this program, I have different boxes that are the layouts of the different pages, and then I create the artwork and place it inside those boxes, and then I do speech bubbles on top of that. But trying to open this up in Clip Studio. Maybe I'll just go right to Clip Studio. Alright. Let's open that back up. Hopefully I'll be able to get right back to work with that. Really like that Doom Patrol show. Definitely not an all ages show. Definitely a show for adults, but so well done. Makes me think about what kind of an X-Men TV show they could do if they were serious about it. This is the issue. There we go. Edit with Clip Studio. James Norris, I never watched The Gifted. I know that they had Polaris on there. I don't know if they did anything good with that. I thought Legion started off strong, and I don't really know where they ended. The end of the one season finale was really cool. It was very animated. I'll just work at this resolution because it'll be fine. But if they had enough money to do a straight up X-Men adaptation where they're in the mansion doing stuff, like kind of like the animated series but live action, I think that would probably be the best way to go for X-Men. Because it's all about the characters. I think that's what they forget about in the movies. Let's save this out. Oh yeah, Legion's over. It sure had so much promise. I think it was a victim of the merging of Fox and Disney in budget, and I don't know if they thought they were gonna. I feel like the show went further than the creators thought it was going to go, so I don't know if they really had something that was very well thought out. But visually, it was really cool. They had some really great music on there. Some interesting concepts. Just felt unfocused. Although I think Umbrella Academy, the new season of that, is out too. And I've been watching October Faction as well. It's a Steve Niles book that's on Netflix. That's pretty good. I wouldn't say that's the best show, but it's interesting enough to put on. I like Steve Niles' writing, so I gave it a shot. He's the same guy who did 30 Days of Night, but he's done a bunch of other stuff too. Whenever I've taken a chance on his books, I've liked what he's done. Oh, Umbrella Academy. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I thought they adapted it well. I didn't really read the comic until the show came out, but I have all 3 volumes now. Yeah, there's so many comic shows: Heroes, Alphas, the 4400, Agents of Shield, 6 Netflix Marvel shows, The Boys. I thought The Boys was pretty well done. Might that be the? I don't know. I really like Doom Patrol because it's just so unapologetically wacky. But I really like The Boys a lot. Definitely a mature TV show, but I thought it definitely had more heart than what I've read of the comic book. The comic book just kind of seemed that they were trying to out preacher with violence. And then there's that Old Guard movie that just came out. Yeah, I watched the very first episode of The Flash, but that's the only CW stuff I've watched. And the first episode was good, but not so good that I wanted to watch more. Too like teen drama format. This may be the best chat we've ever had in this in these streams. Evan realizes that he doesn't watch anything. Most of the time I'm drawing, though, when I put something on. I will actually watch Doom Patrol. And then James North says, our hero has faced many challenges and saved the world, but this week they face their biggest challenge yet. Who will they take to the dance? It's been very profitable for Warner Brothers, that format. I guess it's that whole Spider-Man thing. That was his appeal back in the day. The real life problems. Betty or Veronica, the eternal question. Veronica. Easy. Next question. Yeah, James Norris is saying I watched a little bit of Supergirl and Krypton. Smallville is pretty good, but only watched sporadically. I never watched any of the Supergirl show, but I did try to get into Krypton. I didn't get into that. I watched season 1 of Titans and wanted to like it, but it just was too weird. I don't know. There's so many of these shows where it's like we're going to deliver this thing that you want, and then they never end up doing that. Like on the Kevin Smith podcast, they were talking to Greg Rucka because he wrote the Old Guard movie that's now on Netflix, and he also wrote Gotham Central, which I have not read all of, but what I've read I really liked because he co-wrote that with Ed Brubaker, who's one of my favorite writers, and they were talking about how when they started that show, it seemed like they were going to do Gotham Central, but then some executive got in the mix. I'm just like, we spent all this money and we don't get Batman? And so they had to have the young Batman on the show, and then I don't know. It seems like if you're going to adapt something that you should use what you're adapting. And I don't know, if you don't want to use those characters, do your own show. Do your own characters. Frankly, I'm more interested in the independent stuff anyways. But yeah, my father-in-law really likes Gotham and probably assumed that I would watch the show as well, so we have something to talk about, but I still have not really watched any of it. It seems so strange to me that you would have a property and then, like a well-known property, and then do an off-brand version of it when you have the actual property. Just seemed very bizarre. Other two didn't keep me interested, and there were a lot of shows I just dropped mid-season. Oh, Freeform is another one of those shows that are places that does young adult versions of comics. Gotham I watched. James, what did you think of Gotham? I probably didn't even really give it a fair chance. Just because I think I hoped it would be Gotham Central, and it wasn't that. James says there were a few things that he thought or that were confusing, like Poison Ivy got transformed twice. Yeah, sometimes these shows, they just reach too far. Like, I wonder if they could have just done a redone version of the Batman 66 show. Just like do something where like all the things that you want to do are like safely inside the production budget, and then just go nuts with the original characters. Or if you can't have the characters get into a big battle, just like have them get into a small argument or something. You just keep the story small, but keep the characters accurate. Probably had that conversation with a whole bunch of people by this point. Oh, it's not loading? I'm not seeing it on my iPad up here. Maybe I could restart this and see if it's still working. I know our internet has been less than stellar. Just save that quick. I wonder if I lost everybody because my internet's not working so hot. Looks like the internet is not doing so hot. Alright, let's try that again. Still not working so hot. I don't know if this will be something I'm able to fix. I wonder if I can see this on my phone. It looks like the Twitch is moving a little bit more. Twitch is moving a little bit more. Looks like it's working on my phone. Twitch is moving a little bit more. Looks like it's working on my phone. Looks like it's working on my phone. Evan saying he assumes the stylus is pressure sensitive. Do you have to toggle the sensitivity depending on what you're doing, or do you kind of just leave it at a default setting? The default setting is pretty good, although I have had it go weird for whatever reason, and I had to reset it on in both Clip Studio and according to the N-Trig drivers, which I believe that the stylus for the Windows Surface runs the N-Trig, or it's probably called Microsoft Pen or something now, because I think they bought that company. But for the most part, it's pretty good. The only thing that I adjust inside Clip Studio is if you go into your pen settings, there's stabilization. I turn that up to 88. Sometimes I turn that down depending on if I want things to have a rougher look. But that stabilization is pretty nice. So like if I'm wanting to draw a building or something like that, the stabilization makes it so I don't necessarily have to grab a ruler or anything like that. I can just kind of wing it and make it work. But I'm always inspired by something Mark Silvestri said, or well, rather something that Mark Silvestri does that I also try to do. He says he tries to use a ruler the least amount of time possible because the lines of the ruler just kind of like deaden the image. Like the imperfections of trying to draw things with a straight line make an image look more alive and less static, which is something I've found to be true, at least in my opinion, in my own work. I try not to use rulers and straight lines because it just looks out of place. But I really like Windows Surface line. I mean, if you get down to it, the pen for like the Cintiq and the Apple Pencil may be more precise. But things are getting so good now that the difference between the tools, I mean, you can definitely still tell, and there is a difference. But things are getting so advanced now that you can still get the job done with a variety of different tools. And the thing I like about the Surface is it costs less than a Cintiq, and it's a whole computer. So you can do a whole bunch of stuff with it instead of just using it as a drawing monitor. And the pen that it comes with has the eraser at the other end, the stylus at the other end, which Apple Pencil doesn't have an eraser on the other end. And also the tip of the Surface Pen has a nice like rubberized texture to it, and the slickness of the Surface screen is set up in such a way that it feels good to draw on this. I mean, I like the iPad too. If I had a larger iPad, I'd probably like that even better. But this screen is pretty big. I think this is the 15-inch screen for the Surface Book 2. And what's nice about this is I don't need any other subscriptions or anything. Like anything that can run on a normal PC can run on this. So I don't need to pay for the additional subscription to Clip Studio for iPad, although I do. Because it's just nice to have that option. And I'm a little less precious with the iPad because it costs less. So if I'm going someplace and I'm looking for something to do, or if I'm waiting around somewhere, I feel less precious having the iPad and just working on stuff on that. Whereas these, because they are a little bit more expensive and they can do a little bit more, tend to take care of them a little bit better. So Evan says rulers are for wimps. I agree in context of cartooning. Unless you have a very static construction style, like if you were born to draw Transformers, then rulers might not be a bad thing for you. So Evan says that he has an iPad, but not an iPad Pro. Are there styluses that I would recommend for that? He says he does have an Adobe Draw program on there that I've doodled on before, but I feel like I play with it more if I had a stylus. If you have the Apple Pencil, or the 2018, I think it was, the one that works with the Apple Pencil, I like the Apple Pencil. There's a guy, Brad Colbo, who does a lot of YouTube videos. He just did one on how a lot of the styluses for the iPad that are out there are getting a lot better, but I haven't tested that firsthand. I know that the 2018 Apple Pencil and iPad work really good. Like, for the money, that's probably your best bet. The only thing about that is that, Procreate's really good, but if you want to use Clip Studio, it's a $70 a year subscription. So that costs some money. Whereas Procreate, I think, might be like $10 or $15 with add-ons. But I just really like Clip Studio. It's probably my favorite art program because it can do so much and it's so light. Unlike Photoshop, I don't use Photoshop a whole lot anymore, just because it's such a gigantic program. It's like carrying your whole toolbox around when all you need is a hammer. I really like Affinity Photo, too, to draw in. Maybe one of these streams I'll jump into that and ink something in there. I think that's a very versatile program as well. That's a great deal because it's only like $30, and then you own it forever. Trying to be the Adobe killer. Welcome back, James. Let's see, how is this looking? It's always nice to look at this on another screen, because then I can see if the drawing's working or if there's any huge glaring errors. Yeah, and James Norris is saying Clip Studio goes on sale around Black Friday. I mean, as a drawing program, I think it's my favorite to work with. As a graphics program, it's still very powerful. I think it's very affordable, too. I'm a big fan. What's nice about the stabilization is that definitely helps me work longer. Like if I'm trying to hit a certain deadline with something, the lines typically do more of what I want them to do than if I was doing it 100% by hand. So it helps me work a little bit faster. Because if I get tired, there's undo. Because if I'm making something by hand and I want it to be really precise, sometimes I have to just walk away from it, and it takes a little bit longer. Because I get tired, it goes wiggly. We lost some people again. If I restart my phone, I'll be able to see it again. Well, if nothing else, I'll have this panel inked. Or partially inked. So got most of everybody.